I'm reading a case study about the Carolina Wilderness Outfitters. It was developed as a joint effort by the Center of Audit Quality, Financial Executives International, and the Institute of Internal Auditors, and the National Association of Corporate Directors. These four organizations have formed the Anti-Fraud Collaboration to actively engage in efforts to mitigate the risk of financial reporting fraud. The collaboration's goal is to promote the deterrence and detection of financial reporting fraud through the development of educational programs, tools, and other related resources. There is a website, antifraudcollaboration.org. The case study begins with Sue Ramos, head of internal audit at Carolina Wilderness Outfitters. Found herself at a decision point. 1 month earlier, following an ex-employee's call to the company's ethics hotline, Ramos launched what had seemed like a routine investigation into a claim of improper termination. She had thought the investigation was winding down until last week, when it turned up a new allegation of possible accounting irregularities. The new allegation, however, was not well substantiated. Her instincts told her that she should pursue the matter further, and she also knew that it would be difficult to do so. She had little reason to believe the investigation would turn up something significant, and she had a full plate of work already and full resources she could assign to the task. Few, that is. Further concern was that CWO was 1 week away from its SEC filing date for its third quarter financial statements, and company management would be in no mood for a distraction without strong supporting data. Ramos considered her various points. She would notify management of her concerns, bring it to the attention of the audit committee, and/or alert the external auditor. Alternatively, she wondered whether she should just focus on her other high-priority work and not pursue what would, in all probability, not amount to anything material. Carolina Wilderness Outfitters was a publicly traded specialty retailer that sold gear and apparel to outdoor enthusiasts. Founded in North Carolina with just one small store in the 1930s, the company grew slowly for 50 years and attracted a loyal local following. In the 1980s, a small group of investors saw great potential in CWO and bought a majority stake in the business from one member of the founding family. Other members of this family continued to hold a 20% ownership stake. The new majority owners took the company public with a successful IPO and grew the business by building larger and newer stores throughout the southern and eastern states. CWO now had 35 stores in 6 states. Texas, with 12 stores, and Pennsylvania, with 8 stores, accounted for nearly 2/3 of the company's $310 million in annual sales. Because of the importance of the fall hunting season to its business, a disproportionate share of its sales came in the late summer and early fall. Headquartered in Hendersonville, North Carolina, CWO organized its divisions around 3 main product groups: hunting, fishing, and apparel. The hunting division sold rifles, shotguns, air guns, ammunition, optics, hunting blinds, and other gun and hunting-related gear. The fishing division offered rods, reels, fishing tackle, lures, live bait, nets, canoes, and small fishing boats and boat accessories. The apparel division sold hunting and fishing clothing, jackets, rain gear, camouflage clothing, footwear, and other apparel for outdoor activities. The apparel division accounted for half of CWO sales, with the remaining sales approximately evenly split between or across hunting and fishing. CWO carried both its own brands and a selection of leading national brands. It sourced a large majority of its products from major suppliers, but the company still manufactured a few apparel products, mostly camouflage clothing, in its own plant in Texas. CWO maintained a company website to promote its stores and provide general information about the company, but it had only recently begun exploring opening an internet channel to sell its products online. Company strategy. CWO had built its reputation by offering quality products and superior service. It targeted mid and upper income consumers with enough disposable income to purchase that special item to complement their vacation or hobby experience. CWO sales associates were some of the best in the industry in terms of product knowledge, outdoor experience, and an ability to connect with customers. CWO located its stores in tourist towns close to fishable waters, in areas open to hunting, or areas with high levels of outdoor recreational activity where shoppers were ready to buy. For the past decade, CWO had pursued a strategy of steady, sustainable growth. It opened a new store every couple of years, and company management focused on running each store profitably, increasing some store sales annually and only opening a new store when it found a good location in the right area. Excuse me. Executive team. Ann Dawson, CEO of CWO, had practically grown up in retail, beginning as a sales clerk in high school and becoming a part-time assistant manager in college. After earning her MBA, she became a buyer for a national sporting goods chain. Her confident leadership style, work ethic, and bias toward action soon led to executive-level positions in two different retail companies. Dawson had joined CWO as head of store operations 5 years earlier, and after 2.5 years at CWO, she was named CEO. Two factors that had led to Dawson's career success were her personality and her ability to set and achieve ambitious goals. One executive explained, "People like Anne, she is approachable, always projects a positive can-do attitude, and is the kind of person people enjoy being around. At the same time, she is very focused on business. When you see her working so hard and doing everything she can to improve the company, you feel like you never want to let her down." Bud Stimson headed up CWO's hunting division. He had joined CWO 12 years earlier and had been in his current position for 5 years. Stimson set his personal goals high and pushed his managers as much as he thought they could bear. Managers who thrived under pressure, wanted to advance their careers, or learn from one of the best wanted to work for Stimson. Steve Bauer and Rocco Murley headed the fishing and apparel divisions respectively. Bauer was in some ways a holdover from an earlier generation. He joined CWO before it went public and worked in upper management at a time when many managers still considered themselves fishers and hunters. At executive meetings, he often prefaced his comments with, "What a fisher wants." Murley was the youngest member of the executive team, and had been at CWO for 2 years. A graduate of leading undergraduate college, Murley had been hired into an executive training program at a major retailer after earning an MBA from a top-tier business school. He had held a variety of retail management positions, including a stint in a major consulting firm in the industry. Dawson hired Murley because she felt that he had been exposed to some of the most up-to-date thinking in the retail field. At CWO, Murley worked to prove he belonged on the top team. Though he often had more technical knowledge than his peers, he respected their experience and tried to learn from everyone. Murley followed the lead of Stimson by setting high targets for his apparel team. Dawson also hired CFO Christine McCoy, a CPA with whom she had worked earlier in her career. At CWO, McCoy was well regarded by other members of the top team. She tended to stick to her areas of expertise, finance and accounting, and stayed in the background on strategy and retailing issues. Her financial team mostly predicated her at CWO. Its members had adequate experience for a company such as CWO, but McCoy believed she would have to invest in additional expertise to grow as CWO continued to grow. CWO had a small legal department. The general counsel provided legal advice and expertise to senior management and also served as the company's ethics officer. All members of the executive team received a standard compensation package which included a base salary, stock options, awards, and significant incentive compensation based on meeting individual and company targets. Dawson, in particular, had compensation heavily weighted towards company performance. Internal audit. Sue Ramos had headed internal audit since she was hired by Dawson 18 months earlier. Like McCoy, Ramos was also a CPA and additionally held the Certified Internal Auditor designation. She had extensive internal auditing experience, having worked in the field for 25 years. Before CWO, she had held a similar position at a slightly larger firm. Dawson had wanted a new person in the position because she felt that while the department might have been strong a decade earlier, it had had little turnover in the past decade and had not kept up with the growth of CWO, nor had the department been progressively evolving over that period. Ramos, however, did not completely fault her predecessor for the deficiencies in the department. It seemed that CWO had invested very little in systems training and new personnel in internal audit in recent years. Ramos had begun to take steps to rectify the situation, but her budget remained tighter than she had hoped when she took the job, limiting, in her view, the ability to transform the function as rapidly as she had initially envisioned. Internal audit consisted of 4 members in addition to Ramos. The team evaluated risk exposures related to CWO's governance, risk management, and internal controls. It periodically evaluated risks for each division and region and selected sites for testing on a rotating basis. So, again, let me reemphasize. The team evaluated risk exposures related to governance, risk management, and internal control, GRC. It periodically evaluated risk for each division and region and selected sites for testing on a rotating basis. Internal controls at CWO seemed adequate, but were perhaps not as strong as they might be. Processes and controls were in place and regularly discussed. Management generally took them seriously, but as one manager put it, no one ever got promoted because they followed the rules. Internal audit reported its findings to the audit committee. However, administratively, Ramos reported to CFO McCoy. So, internal audit reported its findings to the audit committee. Okay, good enough. Administratively to the CFO. Ramos also handled special investigations and had some experience in this area. CWO's previous internal audit head had typically hired outside experts to run necessary investigations, but McCoy suspected that sometimes things simply did not get investigated unless they were deemed important enough to warrant bringing someone in. Because of this, McCoy wondered if there were other issues that may have been ignored or overlooked in the past. Consequently, McCoy wanted Ramos to run all investigations unless and until it was determined that outside help was required. Many such investigations originated with the company's ethics hotline, which was also operated within the internal audit department. 2 other factors challenged internal audit. One of its staff members had gone out with a disability 6 months earlier. Initially, it appeared that this employee who helped test controls around obsolete inventory would be out only a few months, so Ramos had delayed hiring a replacement. And Ramos would have to decide soon whether to hire someone new. While Ramos had asked about obtaining outside resources to provide assistance, it was not pursued because it was not in the budget. The second challenge was that other than the CFO, Ramos was the only manager at CWO who was a CPA. Dawson and other executives would occasionally drag Ramos into issues outside of internal audit to tap her expertise on accounting issues. While this did not take up a large amount of her time, Ramos wanted to be helpful. She sometimes found this practice distracting. So who's on disability? One of the staff members. Okay. Of what? Internal audit? Yeah. External audit. I'm going to get to when we return.